Hello, Laney. Paul Cundiff here. So, uh, we're revisiting the estimate that we sent you. Of course, we sent you an estimate that would be like what it would take to get this to showroom, where it just came out of the factory, maybe even better than it just came out of the factory condition. So, and you don't have to do all of those things. As a matter of fact, there are some things that you can't do. One of those things being that Ivolite has closed down. So we can get the upper part of this chrome plated, but we can't actually restore the bottom half of this because there are some parts that have to be pressed into this. And that press, unfortunately, the man that was doing this work owned Ivolite, has since sold Ivolite, but was still doing the service work for them while they were not really operating their company. He has dementia, and so he can't remember how to operate his jigs and dies and equipment to put these things together. So anyhow, but that was reflected on the estimate, I believe. So here's what we found. There's a lot of varnish on this. The color is wrong. It's way too dark. You can't really see the wood grain. Up here on top, it was apparently leaked on, and at some point in time, maybe not in the latest storage, but at some point in time it was leaked on. And what we have here is this veneer has expanded and it won't lay down. So we would need to take this rail off right here to repair this properly. Really the only way, take this rail off right here and re-veneer this section right here to glue this stuff down. I really don't see any other way. I guess we could slice this and get it to lay down flat, glue it down, and then sand it to where, because there's going to be some overlap, and we could sand the overlap off, but the quality is not going to be as good as if we go ahead and just re-veneer this section. What we had hoped for, and I guess we could still do, was we got a little wood repair there that needs to be done, was to do maintenance coats, and that would be do a light sanding of all of this that's on the boat, and then do 4 coats of varnish, and then do a heavier sanding in order to achieve a mirror finish, and then put a final finish on it that would be a mirror. And when I say a mirror, let me just show you. Here's one we just completed. That's the finish that you could have. Now you won't be able to see your wood grain through here because your stain is too dark over there. So it won't be, but it will be at least shiny. You will see the shine, but you won't have, and this one has just a very little bit, minute amount of dust in it. And the customer elected not to have us polish this. We could actually get all of these little specks out, but the customer elected not to do that. So anyhow, we could do maintenance coats. I will but the maintenance coats don't save you very much money versus an entire strip and an entire refinish. And we would get the color corrected for you. We get this done at the same time. We've got some veneer to work on here as well. Now, this handrail was not original to the boat. We can leave it or we can remove it if you'd like. The ceiling boards were not original to the boat. Those are just clapboard sides like you would put on a house. We had we had taken those out and putting additional varnish on those to get a shine on those. They could be completely left alone. The fuel tank, however, is another story. It cannot be completely left alone. It is not legal. It is an old water tank for perhaps a well. There should not be any openings in the tank for this to be legal and Coast Guard approved. No openings in the tank lower than the top of the tank. And you see there was a drain. This was probably a vertical tank at one time, and there was a drain installed on it. The dished ends give it away that it was not an original tank, nor is it a correct tank. The engine, we did a compression test on the engine, and you have a couple of cylinders that are low in compression, low or zero. That is probably stuck valves just because this engine has sat around for so many years. However, we don't know that it's stuck valves. So we can spend, what I would propose is that we spend a day on it trying to get this guy operating. It's probably going to eventually need a carburetor rebuild, but if we can get it operating, a lot of times that will unstick the valves. That will free them up, and the valve and the engine won't need any further work. However, the day's work, the $600, could be throwaway, because if we find out that we can't get the valves freed up, then we would need to take the heads off and at least have the heads reconditioned. When the heads are off, we measure the cylinders and we find out if the cylinders need any work. And so this can spider crack, or this can escalate, and it can escalate rather quickly. But at the very least, we need to spend a day on it trying to get it operating for you. I would do a tune-up with it. We would replace the distributor cap, points, plugs. The wires are probably no good. They're probably dry rotted. We would have spark jumping to ground or spark jumping from plug wire to plug wire. And that's a Carter AFB carburetor. We would really need to just go ahead and rebuild the carburetor. So I'd say a tune-up and a rebuild on the carburetor. The starter, if the starter gives us any trouble, a rebuild on the starter is about $200. There's an alternator. We can replace the alternator rather than rebuild it with a one-wire alternator, brand new Marine, $250, $300. So you may want to, let me know if you want us to do anything to the engine. I'll put down what our recommendation is. You really don't need to do anything to the gauges. I don't think. I mean, the voltage gauge is definitely not even vintage. It's a modern voltage gauge. The oil pressure gauge looks to be vintage. It's not a original. That's this gauge. It's not an original Chris-Craft gauge. This was a speedometer. It was an aftermarket gauge to begin with. Aquameter, I think, made those. It's a little pitot tube style thermometer or speedometer. Thermometer, Jesus. And let's see. The other thing I did observe over here is your throttle cable is, this is your throttle in the center of the steering wheel, and it should be moving this arm back here, and it is locked up and non-operable. So that could be a half a day's work, either getting it operable or getting it, replacing it, and about $100 for the cable to replace it. The interior was pretty well rotted out. You had carpeting on the floors. The foam had held water against the wood. A lot of the wood was rotted, and so I don't think you're going to get by without any interior work. So that's the story on the boat. Hopefully you'll decide at this Christmas time to go ahead and restore your father's legacy. Again, we can save you about half on the varnish work by doing maintenance coats. It's just that we're going to be It'll improve the look of the boat some, but you won't see the grain shining through like you could see on that boat over there. So anyway, that's the latest, and hopefully we can get you started. Thank you.